Like to call the meeting of the Lord Salkers Weston Community Committee to order at approximately 7 minutes to 10 a.m. January the 27th. We are meeting here, the Lord Salkers Weston Community Committee is meeting here on Treaty 1 land, the homeland and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Innu, Dakota peoples, and it's also the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation, where we receive our water from Shoal Lake 40 in Treaty 3 territory. I'm Councillor Ross Eady. I'll be your chairperson today from the Mynarski Ward. And with us today, we have Councillor Sharma from the Old Kildonan Ward. We also have from our administration, we have Simi Rez. And I'm not sure who else is here, but I definitely know that our senior clerk, Mr. Peter Prinsloo, is here today. And yeah, so do we have a motion for Councillor Simpkins?
I'll move a motion, leave of absence motion. Councillor Santos is
City business.
City business.
Right? All those in favor? Nobody's opposed, that's carried. Would you move the minutes of the meeting of Lord Salkers West Community on January 6th, 2026? Thank you. All those in favor? Everybody's in favor. Thank you. We're actually, do you want to move a motion for the addendum report, plan approval report? Councillor Shaw?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor, nobody's opposed, that is carried. Delegations, do we have our inspector with us today? We do. Okay. Inspector Hall, yeah.
Good morning, councillors. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, good morning. I'll just go through the statistics for December for the North District pretty quickly. Although we had a fairly slow month. Our numbers are actually quite high still. So just going through some of the numbers, 3,574 dispatch calls for service for the North District, which is about 100 to 150 calls lower than average, but still quite high. The community support officers took 749 of those calls for service. I will add that for the first time I've seen in my almost 26 completed years, we had several days and hours where we didn't have calls for service pending. So on a particular day, we might have 6 or 7 hours straight where there are no calls pending in the North District. So that's a good sign and a good thing. Obviously, that's in conjunction with the colder weather. But I just think some of our crime strategies we've initiated here are starting to work a little bit as well. So continuing, 362 arrests occurred in December, which is about on par for being average. Community engagements through CSU, we had about 30 hours of community engagements. And in our SPATs, as I've talked about before, that's when officers park cruiser cars and get out and walk and engage the community. We had 192 hours of that, which is high, which is good. Obviously, no calls for service. Officers were getting out of the cars and engaging the community. Traffic stops, we had 703 events for the month of December, 80 traffic events. So total proactive time spent in the community was 507 hours, which is good, and it's quite high for the month of December. I'll add 2 more quick items. We executed a search warrant in the William White area in December. That was our community support unit. Several firearms and drugs are taken out of a residence on Pritchard Avenue. And then as well in the Point Douglas area, a warrant was executed by the community support unit again. More firearms and drugs were taken out and individuals were arrested. But that's it in a nutshell for the month of December, pending any questions from council.
I think so, that's good. You don't have any questions, Councillor Shaw?
Wanted to make a statement.
Go ahead.
I wanted to thank the inspector for his report today. And more importantly, I want to thank you for your ongoing support. My office did reach out to you, myself included, a few times in the last month or so. And I really appreciate your response and going through whatever issue we're presenting to you and trying to find some solutions. So I appreciate
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Call anytime. Appreciate it.
I might ask I'm pretty sure the William White power line is interacting with the police service. How's that going?
From what I know, it's going well. They will, speak directly with the sergeant of the community support unit. And just for, just to be impartial, I don't interfere at all with it. I let them call, I let them, say what they're gonna say, and then, as you know, we'll try and act on whatever information we can or help the community any way we can in that regard. But from my understanding is, they're really happy, and it sounds like there's a good relationship between the community support unit and the William White area and that committee.
Great. Well, thank you so much again for your report, and keep up the great work. It is winter, but life still goes on, right? So
Absolutely.
keep it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
All right, we have other delegations.
We do, yes. So next up, I have Aaron Comack and Nathan Mailing, who are registered here for report number 2, which is plat approval, Templeton Gates, Plan 74196. And there's here. Yep, they're at the end of the table there.
Hi, you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation, and I'm absolutely sure we'll have questions for you after.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors, Lord Selkirk West Kildonan community. My name is Nathan Mailing, and here with me is Aaron Comack from Waterside Development. Our builder guidelines for Templeton Gates file DASZ 3-2023 have been reviewed by Simi Jerez, the district planner, and we'd like to thank her for her input and her time spent in reviewing our file and getting it to the finish line that we presented or will be presenting today. All our developments, we hand select our builders, establish builder design guidelines to ensure best building practices and overall designs are maintained. Throughout the building process and throughout our whole development plan, we have site visits, site inspections. We have direct contact with all our builders. They're more than just our builders. They're our colleagues within the development. So we have really strong ties in working with all of them. Donna Thorgelson, Waterside Development CAO, has over 25 years combined experience in real estate and land development and manages our approval process with all our builders. Due to the time constraints, we want to make sure that we're being respectful to everybody's time today. We're more than willing to go through page by page of our documents that we submitted, but if you feel that that is going to bleed too much time or take too much time of everybody today, we'd be more than willing to do a Q&A question on that, or we can go into our development, and if we are coming up to a time restraint, we can stop and just go straight in questions. So we ask that councils would like to let us know how you'd like us to proceed to make sure we're not exceeding any time.
Mr. Chair, I believe they have a presentation. I'd like to hear the high level.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Nathan, you can stay if you like. Yeah, we'll switch. Okay.
Switch seats.
Okay, my name is Aaron Comack. I'm with Waterside Development. I have 16 years of residential construction experience with one of the largest home builders in Manitoba and recently joined Waterside. During my time in the industry, I've been responsible for overseeing the design, architectural approval, and sale of over 3,000 homes in a multitude of different subdivisions with varying architectural guidelines. I'm a certified master builder with a certified housing professional designation, and I have worked with Nathan and Simi to refine these guidelines to ensure that they conform to the design intent for the DAZ. So from a high level, the vision of our architectural guidelines is to create a residential neighborhood offering a variety of housing options, single family and two family homes across a variety of housing types to create a thoughtful streetscape. Our architectural vision will evolve as the community progresses, but these guidelines will provide a clear framework for our builders. The plan and design approval process will involve the builders submitting their construction drawings to Waterside Development. The development process, review process will be conducted internally by Donna, who has, as Nathan noted, 25 years of experience in real estate, and as a secondary, myself will be reviewing those submissions. Developer does have the right to withhold approval should the homes not meet the architectural requirements. But once they do, we will provide a letter for them to provide to the city with their permit application. The requirements do meet all of the minimum City of Winnipeg zoning requirements and aim to set a higher bar. And so with regards to setbacks, the minimum setbacks are met and outlined in the guidelines. All homes shall have a minimum, single family homes shall have a minimum 2-vehicle garage. Backlane lots shall have a minimum single car garage or concrete pad. We'll note that gravel parking pads are not acceptable as they create lots of problems for mess in the community. No home shall exceed a 2-story design and shall not exceed the 35-foot building maximum in the city. And concrete driveways shall be a minimum of 20 feet in an effort to address parking issues so that there is ample room in front of each home for vehicles to park. Any questions so far? Okay. We have established minimum square footages as well. In my experience, these are slightly higher than typical square footages, but commensurate with maintaining affordability while ensuring that there is proper massing and sizing of the homes in the community. Those square footages range from 1,200 square feet for a bungalow, which is suitable for these lot sizes, and a minimum square footage for 2 stories at 1,500 square feet. For our lookout lots, bungalows are the same, but 2 stories will be slightly larger.
Extension, Mr. Chair, 5 minutes.
All those in favor, nobody's opposed, that's carried. Go ahead.
Thank you for the additional time. 2-story homes will be slightly larger on lookout lots at 1,600 square feet. Whereas on walkout lots, 2 stories will be 1,600 as well, but bungalows will be larger at 1,400 square feet. The minimum size for side-by-side homes will be 1,500 square feet, which is I would say a generous size for side-by-sides. And it is noted in the guidelines that should a builder submit plans for a home that is slightly smaller, that they could be approved provided that the architectural detailing of the homes offset that difference in square footage, which is typical in most subdivisions. Design and architectural requirements. So we are going to ensure that there is ample variety in the streetscape. We do not want to see repetition or monolithic designs throughout the community. So there is a repetition requirement that at least 3 homes using different exterior materials and colors must separate other homes. So effort will be put in to ensure that there is very clear separation between similar designs. Builders will be required to use a number of different exterior detailing materials, such as brick, stone, wood, cementous siding like James Hardie, metal or other metal siding to enhance the appearance of the homes and the community. We will discourage extensive use of stucco on the front elevations, and will only consider smooth or lightly textured acrylic stucco as an accent. All materials used on the front elevation will return 2 feet onto the side elevations, which is a typical requirement. We are maintaining a minimum roof slope of 412. with 512 being more typical in the minimum, where we see 412, there'll be longer overhangs that would accompany it. That allows for a more prairie style architecture. Roof shingles shall be asphalt. We will be limiting metal roofs to accent details over, say, for example, a front entry or a dormer, but we'll be discouraging full metal roofs unless it matches the style of the home.
Stands out in a different way.
It will,
Compatible?
yes, it would be completely a one-off because metal roofs typically are much more expensive. It would impact the overall streetscape.
See them a lot in residential.
No,
They're more
but
expensive, just.
they're very expensive, but they do look very nice as an accent over a front porch, or depending on the style of the home. We're seeing it more with farmhouse style plans. That being said, front entries must be clearly visible from the front of the street. No side facing front doors. And the front facade of every home shall include a minimum of 2 planes, though we are encouraging builders to use 3 planes. And I think that you would see that that would be probably more typical. And then the separation between each plane, so each front facing wall of the home on the second floor must be separated from the other by a minimum of 2 feet. And there's a simple diagram to sort of illustrate that. In most cases, the separation between planes will exceed 2 feet, but we're setting that as a bare minimum. And then in conjunction with consultation with CIMI, we've outlined some further requirements that the front entry side of the garage is considered part of the front of the home and shall be detailed in a similar fashion as the main home itself, using similar materials, colors, and detailing. Homes with recessed garages are preferred, but builders are encouraged to design homes with living space over the garage to attempt to reduce the separation between the front wall of the home and the front wall of the garage. So to avoid having a garage effectively just stuck onto the front of a home, that there will be living space above. And we do see in our market nowadays that that is much more common, as it allows for more affordable living space to be expanded onto the existing structure. Driveways, including approaches and walkways, must be constructed from paving stone or concrete. The approaches must be similar and constructed to code requirements approved by the City of Winnipeg engineer, complete with all required permits. Driveways have to be completed within 24 months of the issuance of the building permit. To ensure compliance, security deposits are taken by the developer from each builder for each lot that they purchase.
I'll move a further extension of 5 minutes.
All those in favor, those opposed, that's carried.
Thank you. So those security deposits are our mechanism for enforcement, and we do regular reviews of the work being done on site to ensure that it conforms with the approved plans. As Nathan noted as well, we have longstanding relationships with all of our builder partners. Everybody is, I would say, with my past experience as a builder, highly motivated to satisfy the developer's requirements to ensure access to future opportunity. All exterior materials and colors are approved by the developer. That approval will come after the initial architectural approval and prior to the start of or the completion of framing stage. The duplex homes that we have in our community, there is a mix of front drive and laned duplex homes. We are limiting to 2-story structures due to the lot width. However, bungalow duplexes may be permitted provided that they are able to fit on the lots adequately. Duplex buildings must be fully attached along the full length of the party wall. So no partial connections between the homes. They will be duplexes. Front drive duplexes must have a minimum of an attached single car garage for each side of the unit. Lane duplexes will be required to have a concrete pad built by the builder. And again, noted, gravel parking pads are not acceptable. Section F, elevations and grades. So this is, community's been designed from a master plan approach. There is a grading plan for the entire community. All homes must meet those minimum setback requirements set by the city of Winnipeg and the developer's engineer, which is Stantec Consulting. And all homes must meet the foundation and main floor heights set by the city of Winnipeg and the developer's engineer. Block grading must be performed in accordance with Stantec's plans and at the builder's cost. Any questions?
Right. All right, Councilor Sherman.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to go back to the side by sides. You had made a point and I just missed it. Square footage. And you
Yes.
said there could be some variance to that if they consulted with you. Do you
Mhm.
want to just say that again, please?
So.
And that's good because you need some flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're talking a minor variance in square footage, it would be less than 10%. If there was a home that was designed slightly smaller than our requirements, the builder would be required to enhance that home further with additional stone or additional siding or other architectural details that would enhance it so that it would stand out as an example of a nicely detailed home, not as an example of a home that's too small, if that makes sense.
Excellent. All right, I appreciate, I guess we'll go to questions, Mr. Chair.
Very good question.
Thank you. Yes,
Thanks.
I do have a question. Just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate a lot of the comments you've made. There's much attention to detail here in the guidelines. Do appreciate that. And you've worked closely with our planner. I've had ongoing conversations with Ms. Jerez, so the file's not new to us here today. Takes time to get to this stage. Nathan, you mentioned some very good points about site inspections and direct contact with your builders. You choose established builders, and I've seen that. We've had many conversations as this development was coming to fruition through the various processes here over the last few years. And Donna, you mentioned she'd be the one that would be reviewing the design proposals.
That's great.
Yes. Okay, and she's got, as you said, decades of experience. This is not her first project by any means. So you feel you have that in-house capability? of
We do,
doing-
yes, yeah.
Doing this task?
If I could add to that, I have worked with Donna for over a decade on the other side of the fence as a builder. She is extremely thorough in her reviews. And while she always works well with the builders, is very thorough in her review process and ensures that we are meeting the design intent of the guidelines in every case.
Excellent. Thank you. And that leads me to my next point, Erin, on your experience. You know, over 16 years, and I have known of your other work, you know, stranger to the development community. So you're going to be a real asset as well to the group you are. And so I appreciate that. You mentioned you've overseen, you know, 3,000 plus homes. There's nothing to sneeze at. And we do want the thoughtful streetscape that you're promising here. And we want the attention to detail, and when plans come forward to you, if they need to be tweaked, that's fine. That's this definitely back and forth. And feel free to connect with my office. I do intend on moving approval later in the agenda. Please connect with me. I like to know what's happening in the ward I represent. There's people looking for homes to purchase. I want to make sure I'm connected with the developers and see what's. I'm not going to just show up when all the homes are done. There's an ongoing dialogue, so if you can keep that door open.
Of course, we go for sure. Thank you.
And question, when do you expect the next set of homes? Any in queue right now? I'm sure there is.
Yeah, we've been given approval for over 14, I believe, right now, with more coming in. So that's, I think a lot of builders are currently working on more design drawings to send our way. And that's where we're currently at.
We'll stay connected on that. I'd also like to connect on the park. That's going to be starting at some point. If you can take that back to your leadership and yourselves, we need to connect on the park.
Okay.
And some details around that still, because these families are very much looking forward to that amenity. And you share the area with another developer. Yeah, we've had the same discussions with them, so we want to know what's happening with the park. I appreciate the collaboration with our planner. She said that you were quite responsive, you know, there's a lot of back and forth, so these things take time, but I intend on, moving it approval later.
Thank you very much for your questions
Thank
and
you.
comments.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And just one other point, sorry, the leadership, Bill McGarry and Donna. Yeah, if you could just take back to them that I like what I'm seeing so far. We've had a lot of discussions over the years with them. And they want to congratulate them on moving this parcel forward because it's greenfield and infill. It's a unique parcel.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of amenities around that, we know, the school, shopping, bus service that we were able to get there as a city council. I pushed for that and the council made sure bus service is coming here. So if you can just take back to them, we really like what they're doing and look forward to continuing working together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we will definitely share that with Bill and Donna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we have no more delegations.
That's right.
So we'll move into our reports. We have. Oh, yeah, we can move into these reports, Counselor Shabba. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we have report number 1, which is plan approval on Fernbank Avenue.
Yes.
But, can we review like the, it's, we'll read, there were some changes made to this one?
Certainly. Just to quickly recap, it's a plan approval for 7 townhouse style multifamily buildings with a total of
I
45
just have a
units.
question. Can suspend the rules? I don't know if the applicant wants to speak again, if he didn't register. Do you want to hear from him again?
Has he applied?
No, I'm just wondering if you wanted to speak at all. Okay.
So you wants to go over.
I'd like to hear from the applicant if
Oh,
he's
he's over
interested,
here.
because it's been a while.
So you move to suspend the rules and.
Sure. To allow
the-
Edward Babbitt to speak in delegation.
Yeah, all those in favor, nobody's opposed, that's carried.
All right, could you help me up here? Sure.
Oh, yeah, there's people downtown when you're trying to get.
Just wanna pull up the
We might
presentation
do
from last time.
Might be a little.
Last is the updated one.
Okay, good morning, councilors. So as you recall from my last presentation, I was asked to add visitor parking. So we've added visitor parking beside unit 15. So we've added 4 parking spaces. So we haven't changed anything else on the plan, but we did add accessible unit. So it's visitable accessible, so it's made on unit 19. And then, so we moved the park to a corner here. So we have benches. We have 4 benches and trees. Did you have any questions for this?
Okay, thank you. This is the project on Fernbank Avenue in the Highland Point neighborhood.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks for your work, Emma, on this, because you have made some really important changes. And you know, you were open to them from the beginning.
Mhm.
There was a lot of discussion here at the last community committee. Now, the accessible unit, what made you do that?
I believe it would be unique and it would be nice to have. Right, so this would be something, so I believe we have it if,
And it's visitable, you were saying, right?
Exactly.
So there's 0 grade, are there gonna be any stairs or is it
there's no stairs to it, yeah.
a bit of a ramp or something like that, or just the way you're gonna do the grading?
So it'll be graded that way, so it'll be just a flat space and then somebody could just enter through the entrance door.
Another place to see that, that's not something we ever really discussed, but
Mhm.
certainly for this committee mentioned accessibility over
Mhm.
here section. So 1 unit and it's visitable, so it's good for anyone. There's not lower counters or anything like that, but just some elements of doors being wider perhaps.
Exactly. So the doors are wider and that, so the back door is wider, the washroom door. So the washroom we made accessible as well, so it has a wider door, so we made it a little bigger as well.
Is it a 2-story?
Yes, it's a
Bedroom.
there's no bedroom on the main
So
floor.
it's visible.
Exactly, so it's visitable, yeah.
Do you have any bungalow townhome here? Or are they all
Uh,
2-stories?
No, they're all 2 stories.
Within the future, it would be helpful to keep one on the ends as a bungalow perhaps,
Okay,
because then you can actually have someone
okay,
that may have extra needs,
okay.
correct? Because right now
Yes.
you can just visit, but you're not necessarily living there.
Yes, yeah, for sure, yeah.
I see that you put more trees in the backyard set.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so we added more trees here, behind the unit type A. So this way it's nicer for the unit type D to look at, right? So they don't just look at the, driveway space, right? So there's green space here. Mhm.
What you've done with the parking lot, so you've added 4 additional stalls. There's very little on-street parking, you
Mhm.
know that.
Yeah,
There's also a park across the street that we've just outfitted with the developer. It's fabulous. I don't know, you've probably seen it.
yes, I've seen it, yeah.
And there's additional green space behind the treehouse. So folks will be walking and biking to the park, but also driving. So it's really important that you added those stalls. I appreciate you working with our planner, with Ms. Perez and my office, to get to this point. And I know you were overseas, so there was a little bit challenging back and forth there for a while with the zone change. Yeah, but I think these are really good changes.
Thank
And
you.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you doing them. In terms of the benches, if you can maybe discuss with the planner and myself at a later time, but we've generally promoted benches in a conversational format
Okay,
because that's how we're seeing them being used.
Yeah.
So maybe in a V shape so folks can talk to each other across from one another. Some of them, maybe we can look. at
definitely, that's an
different-
easy fix. Yeah, so we can do
especially
that,
the
yeah.
one in you point to the largest screen circle there.
This one
Uh,
or this one?
yes, that one. Because they'll be looking out to the playground.
Mhm.
And there's just a way to space them maybe a little bit.
So we could place it closer, right? So, yeah,
Yeah, maybe 2 benches together, but that'll be, that's not something we need to iron out today.
okay,
But if you can connect with my office, my assistant Dale, Kathleen, are very good at having these discussion points and myself, of course.
okay, yeah,
For the planner. I do want to talk about that though, later.
okay.
All right, so you've added 4 more parking stalls, the ratio's gone up.
Yes,
Good,
yes.
thank you. And it's really important that we show these slides because folks are watching,
Okay,
community members, or maybe watching at a later date, and it's hard to follow the last meeting. That's why it's good to read.
okay, yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great. Thanks. So we have a few minutes. Do you want to cover at least the first one up?
Sure.
Yes, okay, all right. So we've heard on the plan approval for Fern Bank, Ms. Rez, would you, well, you've got a good summary of it, but
I can
do
certainly.
you have any more to say about it?
Sure thing. So the applicants, as they noted, have increased the amount of visitor parking. So plans now show 51 spaces, but with the extension of driveways to a minimum of 20 feet to 27 3/4 in length, there's effectively a parking ratio of one unit to 2 stalls. So it is an increase by quite a bit. The requirement would be for, actually, so it would be a 1-to-1 parking ratio for this housing type. So they're in essence providing 2 spaces per unit instead. As noted, they're also added a number of trees between the driveways for the units facing Fernbank. They've added windows on the side elevations for each of units 1, 4, and 15. They've added accessible elements to one unit, not fully accessible, but certainly more visible, correct? And that's the summary of the changes.
Thanks. Councillor Sharma, did you have a motion?
Thank you. Simi, I appreciate your collaboration with the applicant and my office. These are very good changes, including the windows you mentioned. We didn't speak about it during the presentation. You know, and at first we weren't sure how we could change this to make it better, but through the discussion we've had, and I'm certainly consistent with what I'm looking for, parking is an issue in Northwest Winnipeg because bus service doesn't go out to Highland Point. Folks have multiple jobs. There's many reasons. And so we need to continue to look at parking ratios, Mr. Chair. So I've made my comments, really appreciate the applicant and how they've revised the plan to make it better for the community. So I look forward to him starting construction, I think later this year. With that, I'd like to move approval of the plans as submitted.
Right. All those in favor? Nobody's opposed. That is carried. Excellent. New development. Right on.
Plan approval number 2.
Yeah, would you like to cover that off?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Let's do that, Ms. Ress.
We had a detailed overview, so I'll just highlight that it is a plan approval application for architectural design guidelines for single and 2 family dwellings in the Templeton Gates neighborhood. Through the initial rezoning and subdivision application, there were parameters outlined for consideration in drafting these guidelines. The applicant has worked really well to address them with additional information. They've provided a document with sections outlining vision, their approval process, basic requirements for builders, and then gotten into much more detailed design and architectural requirements. And it does address the parameters that were outlined in the DASF report, providing clear explanations of each requirement together with some diagrams, and we've recommended approval of the document.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a good summary, and we heard from Aaron Comack and Nathan Mailing in delegation today. They were very thorough. I made my comments already during the delegation speaking time. They've done a very good job on this. And I have every confidence that they're going to adhere to the guidelines that they shared with us today. So with that, I'd like to move the plan approval, the architectural guidelines as submitted.
That's a good summary. All those in favor? Nobody's opposed. That is carried. We're going to take a break for 10 minutes and come back for hearing.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee together again to deal with hearings on amendment to a secondary plan in, I think, the northern part of Waterford Green. My name is Councillor Ross Eady, City Councillor from Winarski Ward. I'll be your chairperson today. And with us, we have my colleague, Councillor Debbie Sharma from the Old Kildonan Ward, always exciting up in Old Kildonan. And with us from our public administration, we have Ms. Simi Jerez, we have Ms. Anya Ingram, and we have Mr. Evan Allen. And also we have our esteemed senior clerk, Mr. Peter Prinsloo. And I forgot, I would like to start this hearing off by also acknowledging that we are having these hearings here on Treaty 1 land, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples. And it is also the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. And we receive our water from Shoal Lake 40 in Treaty 3 territory. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicants will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a secondary plan amendment at lands bounded by Jefferson Avenue to the south, King Edward Street to the west, and Canadian Pacific Rail lines to the east and southeast under file SBA 6/2025. Please note that communications were received in support of the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. So unless specified otherwise, we'll hand it over to our colleagues in the planning department to give us an overview on the matter.
All right. Ms. Rose, you're passing it to your colleagues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, councilors. So my name is Anya Ingram, and as said, I'm a planner in the Long Range Planning Group with the Urban Planning and Design Division. This application is a proposed amendment to the Precinct C Waterford Green Secondary Plan bylaw. So the subject land consists of one unaddressed land parcel located at the northeast corner of Jefferson Avenue and King Edward Street. It's identified as figure 1 in the report. It's approximately 48.3 acres. The subject land is currently designated recent community and CCDS 2.0 and zoned agricultural. Jefferson Avenue is currently classified as a collector street. Dr. Jose Rizal Way is classified as an arterial street and currently ends at the intersection with Water Ridge Path. Additionally, the Waterford Green Secondary Plan identifies the future extension of Dr. Jose Rizal Way to the north. So this application seeks to amend the Waterford Green Secondary Plan by expanding the boundaries of the planned area to include the subject lands as identified in figure 3 of the admin report. So that would be north to the future proposed extension of Leela Avenue. East, it would be to the future extension of Dr. Jose Rizal Way, and west would be along King Edward Street. So the subject lands would be mostly designated as low density residential with a medium density residential area along the east boundary and a parks designation along the south boundary of the additional land. The applicant and the city signed a terms of reference on December 11th, 2023 to guide the process necessary to add the subject lands to Precinct C and facilitate development. So the proposed secondary plan amendment, SPA 6 from today, is step 3 of the 4-step process identified in that terms of reference. The applicant's proposed map amendment did not include any additional modifications to the land use and transportation policy map. The Public Service is proposing a number of additional amendments to the map in the proposed bylaw to reflect current transportation network standards and future development plans in the plan area. These amendments are identified in Appendix B and do not impact the intent of the application. The proposed land use designations outlined in this application align with the recent community's policies found in CCDS and those found in the existing Waterford Green Secondary Plan. The siting of medium density residential uses along Dr. Jose Rizal Way will facilitate sustainable modes of transportation, and park dedication shows connections to existing and future active transportation paths. The applicant's proposed amendment does not identify local streets with sidewalks or active transportation paths in the land use and transportation map. The plan currently recommends that the final configuration of the local road network and the provision of sidewalks and pathway connections should be determined at the development application stage. Public Service would also like to note that the conceptual subdivision plan that was provided as part of the applicant submission does not meet existing standards for park development. The final configuration of the park should also be determined at the development application stage in accordance with the Winnipeg Park Strategy to ensure adequate frontage along local roads. This encourages safety, visibility, and access and is in keeping with other neighborhood scale parks seen throughout the secondary plan area. So with that said, the Public Service recommends approval of the proposed secondary plan amendment as modified.
Thank you. I can ask questions now, Mr. Dark. Anya, Evan, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate your work on this report. Page 17, your last comments referenced how some things are not exactly confirmed or tied down right now in terms of sidewalks, the park, etc. Right? So those items will be solidified and detailed at a later stage.
Correct.
Right. And so the map in front of us is really just conceptual. So having said that, on page 14, the map could be, the park could be in a totally different spot than later. We still have flexibility to move things around.
So the map with the amendment shown is on page 11 of the administrative report. It shows in the red outline, like the area that's being added. And that general location of where the park is shown would have to be maintained.
Yeah, so the general location would have to be maintained.
Correct.
And because that's what we're proposing here right now.
Yes.
That's what is being proposed, yeah, and it did kind of evolve already. Like, and I've been involved in those discussions with our planner and with the applicant, having discussions, long time back, yeah. So, but this is what you've landed on.
Yeah. So the exact specifications of how the park relates to the local streets is what would be determined as part of the development application stage. Because this map doesn't show the local streets, it leaves a little bit of flexibility in exactly how those relate to each other. But the general location of that park on the southern side of this additional, like the subject land, that would have to be maintained.
And what about the shape of it? Because it's more of a spread out narrow. Did the shape of it change perhaps? Obviously, yes, I would think.
In like certain like kind of small ways, but the general way that it relates to the other features in the map would have to remain. The secondary plan map doesn't show exact property boundaries and such, so that there is that wiggle room in how you interpret it, but the general long kind of shape of it on that southern side would be maintained.
Evan, any more comments?
Yeah, the secondary plan map, is obviously at this level, it's fairly, high level, so it's not showing things like parcel lines or certain rights of way, things like that. But in terms of, as my colleague had mentioned, that the general location would remain. Now, there are some issues in terms of, getting adequate frontage, some other aspects there that are discussed in the park strategy. So, I believe the applicant is working towards meeting all the requirements in the park strategy. In terms of the location, it's sort of that linear sort of fashion. There was, some other, reasons for that, namely that, along the southern edge, of the plan area is a rail line. There are some active transportation, paths that go through there. It's identified on pedestrian cycling strategies as well. And that ties in both with the existing pathways a little further to the northeast, I believe. And there are also some deficiencies made for the school site that is immediately to the south. So some desire there to have some connections, and that's partly why that park space is at the south.
And immediately to the south, there is other green space as well. South of Jefferson there, well, north of Jefferson.
Yeah.
And what is in that space right now? You have to remind me.
It's just north of Jefferson. I believe it's like a small pocket park area.
Anything in there for play equipment?
I think there is a playground.
So yeah, the linear idea is still general. I mean, it could be tweaked is what you're saying.
Yeah, and definitely some of the comments that we've already suggested. There is no DIS site that's forward at the same time as this. But we've made our feedback known to the applicant. They're actively working on that. And we anticipate that those sort of aspects in terms of access and frontage and the exact location of, the exact boundaries of what that park looks like will all be determined and will still fall in line with the amendment that's you see here tonight.
Thank you. And in terms of bus service, is there any, later we'll determine that, but the bus, is it going through this area or just on the outskirts?
The current routes don't go through the area. The nearest bus stations are on Jefferson.
Yes.
So I believe it's noted in the admin report, but based on how you kind of plan the details of the AT routes and the sidewalks, people would be able to connect quite easily down to Jefferson, not just on the local streets, but using those kind of pedestrian paths. So provided that those AT paths kind of are shown the way they are in this map, which they would have to be, where there's those little dotted lines. So those are the west and east sides of that park. With the local streets providing connection to the park, you'd be able to, for most areas of that added land, be able to walk down to Jefferson within about less than a
And
kilometer.
a school bus going in here, that'll be determined later.
Yeah, we did speak at length with the applicant about that requirement, making very clear that it would be desirable to see school buses being able to move through here. And we were on the time to be determined through the DSN that there would be an ample space for a bus to move through the neighborhood identified route. So the road would be wide enough to accommodate movements of a bus that could move through the area. It was one of the requests of public service that we need ensure that a bus can travel through so that kids can get picked up for school, and that there might be, future integration as the bus network sort of expands this area. You can imagine with the extension of Dr. Rizal Way and the future collectors that would be brought into this area, there would be additional, bus service in and around the areas.
Thank you. And the current school reserve showing that's Waterford Springs School, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to put that on the public record. I know people are watching and
Yes.
some of these maps don't always make easy sense to folks. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Just for clarification, on the original application, to do the secondary plan and so on, is that when the developer set aside, I guess they're providing us the parkland, and how many acres of park space is proposed for this?
Same conceptual plan.
So, well, 3.82, yeah, about 3.8 acres. The pond itself is about 2 of that.
So what actual green space?
Basically just over 1 acre of actual green space. And through consultation with the Parks Department, there is a planned active use in that western portion of the park. I believe is a playground, so that there isn't just a blank open space, and there's also planned AT paths on the south side shown on the map for the secondary plan amendment.
So 3.8 includes the pond, and then without the pond is about
About
1 acre.
Confirm that, yeah.
And the
Again,
details
that's-
would be figured out as we mentioned.
Those
with the
details still need to be figured out.
Yeah, so the acreage is part of the conceptual subdivision plan that was included in the application. But in terms of the secondary plan map, it doesn't identify acreage because it's not that.
Yeah, that's right.
And just one more question, is concerns arising from the original hearing application. And then there was a subsequent try to amend by God bless his soul, Mr. Palibeski, who was representing the developer here. So any building along the railway, it's very clear in the secondary plan now what you can build near the railways, because it's bounded, like I said, on the east side and southeast. Is it clear the provisions of what, how close you can build to that railway track?
Just double checking. So in the secondary plan, it does speak very in a small way about the rail corridor. It just mentions that there is a transportation master plan that identifies that right of way. So that's the southern one as a conceptual bike spine or kind of AT path. But it doesn't specifically speak to the eastern rim. So
But it's okay, so what's being proposed to be developed sort of closer to the tracks, you were just saying like an AT trail?
So the boundary being identified as the rail right now is partly because Dr. Jose Rizal Way is not yet extended north. But on the proposed amendment to the map, it does show that extension as the actual eastern boundary of the added.
Oh, that is,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's not like the plan area that we're looking at as an amendment is not literally abutting the rail line. It's just that currently that's the nearest kind of boundary, yeah.
Great, thanks, that answers my question. All right, Mr. Clerk, I believe we're ready for delegation.
Yes, first up, we have Jeff Pratt.
Mr. Pratt, well, we have 5 minutes for you to make a presentation on this, and I'm sure we will extend time if you need a little more.
USB port on this thing. There's something plugged into it. I just don't want to unplug it if it's gonna be detrimental to anything.
There's another one.
Oh, there's one there. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, good morning, the committee and administration. My name is Jeff Pratt, 298 Waterfront Drive in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm with Landmark Planning and Design. Carolina Herrera from our office is also here as well. I do appreciate you allowing me to come and present. The planners from the city gave a great overview of what's going on here. I'll kind of run through it quickly, and then maybe more from the developer perspective, and then obviously happy to answer any questions that you may have. So we're here on behalf of Exemplar Developments. They are the developer and landowner, and we've been working with Stantec, who's been doing the engineering for this project. So as noted by the administration, the site's about 48.3 acres, immediately north of the neighborhood that we've come to know as Waterford Green, kind of bound by the future Dr. Jose Rizal extension, Jefferson Avenue to the south, King Edward to the west, and the future extension of Leela and the Chief Peguis Trail will be the future boundaries of the area we're talking about here today. And really, Winnipeg's population growth has led to a rising demand for housing. This proposal facilitates residential intensification that is compatible with the surrounding properties, consistent with complete communities policies, and addresses market needs in the area. So as noted by the administration, there's been a multi-stage process to get where we are today, and there's still another step after this. But basically, we've been working with the City of Winnipeg administration for several years now, and we took a chunk out of what was formerly Precinct B and brought it into Precinct C and the complete communities and our Winnipeg maps. And then we'll be coming, assuming that this amendment to the Waterford Green Precinct C secondary plan is approved, we'd then be coming back with the DSZ application to the community committee. And we've been working with the public service under a terms of reference to, basically they've endorsed, this general idea, and we're working to help bring it to fruition. So the rationale for this whole process was based on a couple factors. There was existing excess servicing capacity in the Waterford Green wastewater and land drainage networks that was underutilized. And the northern boundary of Waterford Green was based on obsolete infrastructure alignments. So it was based on a alignment of the Chief Peguis Trail that is no longer the one being pursued by the city. So there was a couple factors that made this kind of a logical project to pursue. So, changing the Waterford Green precinct plan to reflect this change to the precinct BC boundaries will allow the development of housing that would utilize the latent capacity that exists, realign the northern boundary to align with the current infrastructure planning, and provide much needed housing in a quadrant of the city that has continually been showing really strong demand. So, as noted, we went to EPC some time ago and made those initial maps to our Winnipeg and the complete communities direction strategy that took that 48-acre chunk out of Precinct B and put it into Precinct C. And what we're here now to do today is to amend the Precinct C precinct plan to reflect this extra land that was brought into Precinct C and give the policy framework for that future subdivision and rezoning application that would be coming. So this is sort of the proposed map. It really isn't a fundamental change from anything that's in Waterford Green currently. This was shared by the administration a moment ago. Really, we're just adding this land in. the biggest chunk of it is low density residential, which mirrors what's to the south. There's obviously the provisions for the parks. As noted, the actual shape and details of that park will be determined at the subdivision rezoning stage. We added in some medium density residential to make use of the future transportation network. And it shows, the general direction of where the collector road would come into this new area. So all these details will be shared at the next phase, but this gives that policy framework for what is supposed to happen on these lands. Amending the precinct C plan to include the subject site will accommodate the potential development of new housing. So it could be up as high as 230 single family homes. That number has come down a little bit in current planning for a variety of factors, and some multifamily parcels. There's a sustained demand for residential units in the area, and there hasn't been enough supply to alleviate the pressure. There is, as mentioned, that existing capacity that is currently unused. So really, this is bringing new housing online without the city of Winnipeg actually having to invest any money in anything. All of this would be developer-led costs. The new boundary aligns with the future planning for Chief Peguis Trail.
Question for 2 minutes, thank you.
Yeah, that should be plenty of time, thank you. And the proposed amendment would promote economic activity, increase servicing infrastructure efficiency, provide improvements to the public realm, and extend the green network and trails from Waterford Green northward. So yeah, as noted, a multi-pronged process. We completed the complete communities direction strategy amendment at an EPC hearing. We're here today to amend the secondary plan, and then we'll come back before you again with an actual DSZ subdivision and rezoning application that will have all of the fine-tuned details that go with that. So with that, that's the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or take in information. Caroline is here taking notes if there's anything you wanted us to pass on to the developer regarding their forthcoming DSZ application. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for presentation, and we've had conversations ongoing on this file for quite some time. And we've also had those discussions with the public service. There's definitely no doubt housing is needed in this area. Trends remain strong on well sought after area, Northwest Winnipeg. There's a lot of amenities around here as well. The school, fairly new school, Waterford Springs School, and a Sikh temple that's a very busy community space, and they're currently expanding as well. A lot of other communities that are fully built out, Waterford Green you touched on, etc. Just want to talk about the terms of reference. You spoke about that very quickly. Can you elaborate on that, the terms of reference that are being drafted?
So basically what they laid out the responsibilities for what the developer needs to do and what the city needs to do. And so basically the developer was leading the process of making all the applications, doing all the public engagement. But the city of Winnipeg had certain goals they wanted to achieve through the amendments to the secondary plan, for instance, and the planners talked about that today. Some of the things that they were putting into the amendment that weren't necessarily things the developer needed, but brought everything up to speed with current policies and whatnot. I think that would be the major gist of the terms of reference. And if I'm missing anything, I would encourage the planners to give you a wave and identify it. But that's the general sort of gist of it.
Sure. You did community consultation a while back. Do you want to talk a little bit about when that was and what you heard?
Yeah, so that was back in 2024. And for the most part, the overwhelming thing we heard from the community was they want more housing. And the area needs more housing, and specifically single family housing. And that's something that this application does have a fair bit of, especially compared to some of the newer neighborhood plans coming forward to the city these days that have more and more multifamily housing in them. So there is a good chunk of single family housing here. We did hear specific issues about access to the school and pedestrian crossings and those sorts of things. And those are all elements that we have been working on as we've been shaping the subdivision rezoning application and will continue to work on. So there is definitely some comments from the school itself and from neighbors around the school. But the most overwhelming takeaway was that people feel the area needs housing.
Very good, thank you. A few things to keep in mind that I know are already on your radar. Parking is an issue. It's an issue in a lot of the new builds we're doing in Northwest Winnipeg, because in single family homes, there's intergenerational families, there's a lot of people there, there's multiple cars because folks are trying to get to their first job and then on to their second job. So we want to keep that in mind, both in the single family area and the multifamily. Look at what the on-street parking is. Look at what park amenities might be needed in the multifamily. Often there's dog runs or smaller play structures. I don't know if that's going to be here, but that's something we should keep in mind when we're planning these spaces. Accessibility came up earlier today as well at this committee, and it comes up often. In fact, I already had a few people reach out since they watched the meeting this morning, asking where they can find an accessible apartment or townhome to live in the north, so they can stay in the north where they've enjoyed most of their life. So that's something I believe developers should be looking at closely. We certainly do, and it shouldn't be an afterthought. So if we can pay attention there. Really, I had people reach out to me after watching the meeting this morning, which made me feel really good. People are watching and listening to these public meetings via live stream. Yeah. Okay, so that, and then the park as well. We need to provide good play value. These families are spending a lot of time in green space near the place they live. There is a playground at the school, but it's busy. It's busy there. So this one will be a good addition to the community at large. So let's make sure we put good play equipment in there, and we can have those discussions together at a later date. All of those things, thinking about snow storage for Winter City, because I can't believe how many times I sit here at meetings and snow storage gets forgotten. And I say these things, by the way, it's for you, but it's for the benefit. A lot of people are watching these meetings. I had someone this morning that said they watched an old meeting from a year ago because whatever they were bringing forward today was similar. Mm-hmm. So we all learn, and I'm going over this checklist that I keep putting out there. Councilor Reedy keeps putting out there, So we want communities built properly. We have so many examples of what maybe didn't work. So let's try to address all the issues. Thank you. But I appreciate the dialogue you've had with me, and Carolina's in the gallery as well, your associate, and very good team.
Thank you.
And the developer's been excellent over time, and taking the time to sit with me in person and on the phone to walk me through what the vision and the plans are. Perfect. Ultimately, we want you to be successful, right? We want the development to be successful, but we want community members who are living there day in, day out. They call this place home, to be happy in their space.
And, I'll mention, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we have been working through, with the administration and obviously your office as well to make sure what comes forward to the next community committee meeting will reflect those comments. And I'm sure that we'll continue to make refinements with the developer to respond to these.
Very good, thank you. And of course, so just to put on the record again, you'll be coming forward once again for the detailed planning of this area.
Correct.
Through the subdivision rezoning. Likely there will be plan approval clauses on multifamily, right? To
I would
get
expect
approved
so,
and then
yeah.
come back, maybe some architectural guidelines,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we take very seriously, and I say these because there's professionals around the table who make all this happen for us. And so it's good for everyone to hear once again.
Agreed.
All right. No further questions of the applicant at the moment. All right. You have a chance to come back if you hear anything that's concerning to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And, yeah. All right.
So next up, I have Carolina Guerrero Garza.
Thank you, no further comments.
All right, I'll just check with the gallery. Anyone else here who wishes to speak in support? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Anyone who wishes to speak for information? Seeing none, Mr. Chairperson.
We'll have questions of our public service, and I'm asking the first one. Just for clarification, again, in this amendments to the secondary plan, there is some proposed multifamily. Is it proposed to be located near the extension of Leela, Jefferson?
It's along,
Single family more in the internal areas?
so the area that's proposed as medium density is along the future extension of Dr. Kaza's hallway. So the entire eastern boundary of this additional land. Yeah, because that's a,
That makes sense.
Just on that note, if I could, they're two separate parcels, correct?
yeah, they would be on either side of a street between them, connecting to Dr. Kaza's hallway.
And medium density is what you're proposing there. Can you explain again for the public record what that means?
So the plan policies for medium density don't have like specifics about exact density numbers and such, but the other similar, like the other area that has this designation, which is looking at the map. Just on the south of Jefferson, on the west side of Dr. Jose Rizal Way, there's a area that has the same designation and they're 4-story apartment buildings. But that's kind of what you're looking at.
What can they go up to?
I'll have to ask you, Evan.
Evan, do you know?
Or
What, is there a cap?
There's no cap per se in the secondary plan itself. But we'll be looking at something similar to our RMFM. I think it would certainly be going all the way up to RMFM. But it
Well, we're
would
not
be
proposing all right. It's medium.
sort of like a low rise.
But there's no cap.
There is no cap,
Okay.
but it would defer to, sort of simply community's policies. It's I don't think that Jose Rizal Way is an arterial as of yet. So we'd be looking at sort of that low rise typology, something along those lines.
I want to clear, okay, so when we're talking multifamily medium, what is the square footage ratio to determine how many units? Because we do have a small, medium and large categories, right? And it's based on a square footage of land or whatever.
Might defer.
Could you repeat the question, Counselor?
So for medium density multifamily,
Yes, that's
what is the X number of square feet of land to unit or medium?
It's 800 square feet per dwelling unit.
That's medium, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
And just for consideration, what is it for large?
400.
400, right? Okay. Well, and small.
Small, 1,250. You're quizzing me.
All
Is
right,
this in the airport vicinity area?
so there is a cap.
This is area,
I don't think so, right?
it falls just outside, I think, with their, I'm thinking of their rise.
Now, we said that the policy, like depending on how high they go is based on policies, Evan, Anya, that we have, right? And also what I just said and what we've been saying. Snow storage, right? Parking issues, play value for the kids. Like those things are probably in there, embedded in there. And how they're articulated, I'm not sure off the top of my head, right? But what we're saying matters because that's what we're hearing from the public, right? We're hearing, we see it with our own eyes, congestion in and around places like Amber Gate.
Yeah.
We've had those discussions recently, actually, one-on-one.
Yeah, and there's a number of policies in the secondary plan that do address lots of things in terms of pedestrian orientation, design, certain other elements like that. The overall intent for these areas is not for high density, which is typically the language that you might see in a plan that would allow for RML or that sort of higher density, building technology. In this plan, it's pretty clear that it's intended for a medium density, would correlate more with that RMFM.
Sure. And I've seen medium go up to 6 stories, I think. It can in the,
Yeah, it depends on a few factors in terms of where it's located. But I can't really speak to that right now, because we don't have the final DIS set in front of us. But the plan policy itself is intended for that medium level of density.
but that's gonna be worked on.
Yes.
So whatever we do today, that informs the next step. So I just wanna put out there that we need to consider all things. And make sure, when it's all fully built out, it's working properly.
Yeah, I'll just note that the current policies in the secondary plan for the medium density multifamily housing area, it does specify that they should be designed in such a way with the location and massing of buildings that provides a transition between areas of different development densities and scale. It does say like including but not limited to setbacks and a stepping down of heights towards single family residential areas. So that language would be used when considering zoning. And that's where that support for an RMFM exists, but not necessarily an RMFL.
Thank you.
And that's why you have that 4 stories there.
All right, we're good, Councillor Sherman?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just the comment on, there's no pressure on the city for any capital costs or anything for infrastructure. That's correct, Evan.
So we're at the point where the applicant can come back and speak or rebut or whatever. New information, would you like to come back, sir?
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add, but to the discussion about density, RMFM would sort of be what's contemplated by the developer, and you know, ultimately the number of units get dictated by the amount of parking you can accommodate and whatnot. So yeah, there's no intent to put super high density or anything like that on the sites.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your presentation. It sounds great. We're gonna maybe, before our careers end, we'll see Waterford Green fully developed.
And what is the name of this area? I guess we don't know that.
The running name is Waterford. Okay, subject to
Mr. Clerk?
Yep, that concludes our representations today. So if the committee wishes, we can move into motions.
And can we ask the public service anything more or just clarification?
You can, however, we would have to give the applicant another.
Okay, if they want. So just again, please restate the timeline for the future after this, if this is approved today, then we move to a subdivision rezoning.
Yeah.
Next steps.
If this were to be recommended by the committee to move ahead, it would proceed on to standing policy committee, up to council. At which point council will need to approve, give a final third reading. Once the plan has been amended and is adopted by council, then the subsequent subdivision rezoning applications can be made. And at which point they would come back to this committee for an additional hearing. And then there would likely be additional approvals beyond that as we proceed through the process.
That would be around when, hard to say, a few months.
Hard to say. Yeah, it depends. Can be relatively quick for secondary plan approvals, so we can move into the next phase, but it depends on council, but I would expect several months.
Would there be any notification to the community for the subdivision rezoning plan when it's a more detailed plan, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Okay,
I do have a question. Okay, so we heard no opposition. And this is amending an existing secondary plan. Is that why it doesn't go directly to EPC? It goes to standing committee? Or is it all secondary plans?
So previous application that came forward through this process involved an amendment to complete communities. So that one, the hearing body is EPC. For a regular amendment to any secondary plan, the hearing body is the community committee. Unless it straddles a boundary, in which case it goes to standing policy committee.
So we have a fast track thing for an actual DIZ or whatever, DIZ, sorry. If there's no opposition, it moves to council somewhat faster.
Yeah, generally speaking, if there's no opposition, recommendation can come forward to suspend the rules, give all three readings at the same meeting of council. That has happened in the past. Again, so
That doesn't happen for amending regular amendment of a secondary plan?
If it depends if there is, opposition at present at the public hearing, and it also depends on council and the recommendation that's coming forward from the services. So,
Anyway, so Mr. Clerk, we're moving motions here to pass this. Guess you'll let us know if it goes. Directly to EPC instead of standing.
No, this one would go to standing policy
It
committee.
still goes to
Yep.
standing. Okay, all right. Councillor Sharma.
Move that the,
Just out of courtesy, we should give the applicant opportunity.
Nothing to add.
Okay.
Sorry.
thank you. I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Move that the receipt of public representations be.
Nobody's opposed, that's carried. Public
Move that the
represent-
receipt of public representations be concluded.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed, that's carried.
Recommendation of the public service be concurred in and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. My supporting reasons, really appreciated the dialogue over a lengthy period of time with the applicant, with the public service. It's been a long time in coming, this application to the committee. And as we've heard, and we know this, there's a desire for more housing in Northwest Winnipeg. In this particular area, there's a relatively new school. There is a Sikh temple that's expanding, other housing developments in the area, Castleberry Meadows, Waterford Green. So they've pretty much built out, as you know, Mr. Chair. So more housing is desired. And we heard from the applicant that the existing servicing capacity is there, so there'll be no investment required on behalf of the city of Winnipeg. We had a good discussion today about the value of parks in this community, what we're expecting of the multifamily development and single family homes. So I'm very pleased with what we've heard today, and I look forward to working on next steps pending council approval with the applicant. I want to thank Mr. Rez, Evan and Anya for all their work on this file. Evan, you've been on this file for a very long time. I think it was a few years ago that you and your first file at the city of Winnipeg when you joined us. So thank you all for your dedication. Very good presentation. I appreciate hearing from the developer, Exemplar Developments firsthand from them as well, because I want to hear from the person that's investing in the area and what their vision is. And that's happened. Appreciate the dialogue. So I move approval.
Yeah, that, I'm just gonna add, I'm of course voting for this. I just wanted to, my supporting reasons are, the amendments, also reflect, learning from the previous, plan and what works and what doesn't work, and that's being incorporated, as well as, some of our newer, policy and direction when it comes to, greenfield development. And anyway, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Nobody's opposed. That is carried.
I'd also like to say this is Anya Ingram's first hearing, I believe, and really appreciate the knowledge that you've shared with us today on this file. Thank you. I'd like to move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor? Nobody's opposed. That's carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
move adjournment, I believe, for today.
So, all those in favor, nobody's opposed, that's carried. Thank you, Councillor Sharma. Thanks to the administration and everybody.